My guest today is no stranger to pain, having dealt with it as a child and again with a nerve injury as an adult. His childhood experiences led him to focus his higher learning efforts in the fields of massage and osteopathic therapies, where he completed his research thesis on posture. His most recent injury led him to re-examine his health, and as a father of three who realized that he's not getting any younger, he decided to make some radical changes to his fitness routine. But I'll let him explain all that to you. Please welcome JaOn Hillman. JaOn, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good, John. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really love being live with you and talking to more experts about health and wellness.
Yes, 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 and I'm really interested in some of the stuff that you're into. I know that you are involved in massage therapy and osteopathic therapy. Now,
You got it.
my wife is a massage therapist. She's a licensed massage therapist, but I hadn't even heard of osteopathic therapy before talking to you. So I really want to get
Okay.
into that and find out a little more about it. But before I do, um, given what you gave me in your bio, I know that there was some stuff that happened when you were younger, concerning, that led you to where you had to have some like exercise therapy and whatnot. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'd love to because it was, that's kind of where a lot of things start is, at the beginning of the story, right? So
Hmm.
what had happened was, I remember being on vacation and just being in tons of crippling pain. I can't remember how old I was, a young kid, but still going
Right.
home and just, crying, you
Mm.
know, crying, right? And, back then that was when, dudes don't cry. You know what I mean? Right? That was,
Right.
right? That was just not a thing, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being upset all the time because of the amount of pain that I was going through. So my family, what they did naturally is like got me involved with a physiotherapist, and they
Hmm.
started showing me some various exercises and everything. But that also showed the shortcomings of what was going on. They said I had scoliosis, and all your problems were
Oh,
coming from weakness of the muscles.
gotcha.
So let's get you doing some exercises. They gave me the exercises. Go home and you do those. Perfect. So I
Hmm.
went home, did them, went back to physio. They said, "How are the exercises?" They were good. Got them all done. Oh,
Right.
good. Let's do more of them. Okay, that's fair. So did it again. Finally was able to do it again. Went back to the physiotherapist. They said, "Okay, good. Do more of them."
Hmm.
Okay, where's the end point in this situation?
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, we're not fixing anything at this point in time. So that's when I started really looking at what might actually be the root cause of some of these problems.
Hmm.
So eventually, as I got a little bit older, it started manifesting in different problems, and I ended up getting an inguinal hernia.
Oh,
Okay, and
okay.
this is a horrifying thought. If you know what an inguinal hernia is, it's
Uh,
essentially where your intestinal system comes out your scrotum.
hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fun. You know,
No, no,
uh,
it's not fun.
it's not fun to exercise. It's not fun to walk. It's definitely not fun to go on first dates. So I'll tell you that
Right.
it's really a tough thing to do.
Hmm. No doubt.
So that required surgery.
Hmm.
Okay, and even a few years later, they required another surgery for the other side.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're starting to kind of go, well, what's going on here? And that's when I started really dipping more and more into how our posture affects our body and how the fascia of the body is so intricately involved with our whole system, and the body works as a complete functional unit.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So it's
Hold on a second.
huge
Let me
topic.
stop. Yeah, but let me stop you right there for a second, because now you said, so basically what was going on when you were a kid was scoliosis. That's what was going on there,
Yep.
and,
You
and
got it.
they corrected that simply with therapy. You didn't have to have
No,
any kind of surgery or anything.
not at all. They didn't really correct it. And, now that I look at my charts, it wasn't even that bad, you know?
Oh, okay. So it was just a mild, but it was enough to cause you the pain.
Well, that was the fun thing because it wasn't actually causing any of the pain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the really cool thing, and that's not something I realized until later when I started doing actual physical exercise with the weights and the
Right.
powerlifting, Olympic lifting, and it
Okay.
wasn't just weak back. It was a
Hmm.
weak body.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
the whole piece.
it is the whole, that's what so many people do not realize, that the body is so interconnected, and so many things, you can have one thing happening in one area and it can affect so many things in others, that people just don't realize until they get into situations like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So it was a big wake up call. And a lot of
Right.
times when I see clients, they'll say, well, everything is connected, right? And I go,
Hmm.
well, yes, but that doesn't mean anything. Now, the big thing is everything is interrelated.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, my pinky doesn't really is connected to my big toe on the right side, but doesn't
Hmm.
really relate to it unless it's causing a problem. There's some sort of interrelationship there. And that's
Right.
what we look at as osteopathic manual practitioners.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So that's what you look at, the connections, as far as, as far as how the body is interconnected. That's basically what you do. Now,
Correct. Yes.
do you use like massaging and different physical therapy techniques to correct situations like that? Is that exactly what you do?
That's a component of it because the soft tissue work, like the muscles and the massage and
Hmm.
everything, is what we do. But we
Right.
also really dip down into the fascia release, whether it's of the muscles or the organs itself. Okay.
Okay.
We also work a lot with the bone structure. So we're going to do joint adjustments. We're going to work specifically on the joints. We're going to work on the postures of the body and see how the position of the organs are, and even up to some of the cranial bones, which sounds really woo woo, right?
Right.
But functionally powerful, very powerful
Yes.
stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I can tell you in my studies, and I've been, as far as being professional, I haven't been at this professionally, but for a couple of years now. But I can tell you that in my own journey from going from a 400-pound morbidly obese individual to where I am now, I've studied a lot about the body and how everything is connected. How certain things, certain things in your body, inflammation can cause problems with your metabolism. That can cause problems with sleep. All these different things. There are so many different functions in the body. Our body is so complex that I don't even think we, as as professional scientists, don't even know everything. Because think about it. 5 years ago, did you hear anything about the gut microbiome? And now they're saying that's the second brain. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yeah,
So
that's a very good point. There's all these components and interrelationships and how things work. Everything is just one masterful piece of work that all, despite our best efforts, does a fantastic job.
gotcha, gotcha. Now your field, especially I mean, I'm well aware. Like I say, my wife being a massage therapist, I'm well aware of how that, especially like she has been a godsend to me in my training in the gym. Because she's able to, even though she's a tiny little thing and I'm a big old guy, she's able to work on me and bust up knots in my muscles and the fascia and stuff like that, which people don't, if you don't know anything about that, when you get in the gym, you start to develop that stuff as you tear down muscle tissue and it rebuilds. But as far as the osteopathic therapy, how does that directly relate for like somebody that isn't necessarily suffering or anything?
Mhm.
How is that beneficial to maintaining a healthy lifestyle?
Well, in most regards, everyone is suffering to a certain extent. A lot of times, it could be
Okay.
something that we're not really aware of, and our society likes to think that things like headaches or stomach problems or bloating or constipation or diarrhea are just
Hmm.
normal, right?
Right.
But it's not the case. It's actually they're just very common
Hmm.
nowadays with our society.
Right.
So when I have a client come in, we do a very detailed interview to see
Okay.
where each system in the body is functionally behaving, whether there is an interrelationship somewhere else, whether there's something that needs a tweak in the skeletal system or something that just needs some soft tissue work.
Right.
And
Okay.
then we can make some recommendations, even getting down to exercise or some simple lifestyle choices.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm the same way. Actually, I have clients. Some clients actually get frustrated with me because when I start working with people, I want to know all kinds of information. I mean, the very first thing I do is they get 9 pages of homework of stuff that I want them to fill out because everything is connected. It's like
Yeah.
certain things that are going on in your life, whether it's stress at work or whether it's relationship issues or whatever, all these different things play a factor in how your diet works, how
Yeah.
why you eat what you eat, how much your stress level affects your hormone levels, and that affects the way your metabolism works. With everything being so connected, professionals in any respect, doctors, therapists, whatever, we have to have all the information we can in order to make sure that we can do the type of job we need to do, so we're giving the person the most value for what it is that they're coming to see us for.
Exactly. If you're not asking those questions again to the root cause of some of these concerns,
Mm-hmm.
you're really doing a disservice. You're taking the person's money without giving them, like you said, the full value of what you're
Right.
capable of doing. And
Right.
since we want people to be healthy and living a positive role model and a good influence so that the
Yeah.
word can spread, the importance of looking after oneself,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a huge integral part of what we do. We need to be those advocates
Yeah.
constantly towards good health.
Yeah, sure. Because I mean, people come to us because they don't know. They don't understand. They something's going on with them, and they don't understand why, or they know that they need to take steps A, B, and C to live a healthier life, but they don't have a clue how to start. And there's so much misinformation out there that if you just
Yeah.
jump online and try to figure out what you're doing, you might as well be trying to, you might as well trying to be climb a tree when there's no
Yeah.
limbs, because it's just going to be very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of having professionals that care, because there are a lot of them out there that don't. I mean, let's face it. But
Yeah.
when you have people that truly care about what it is that they're doing, that's where people wind up getting the most benefit for what it is that they're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And it's hard to find a person who really does care, but
Yeah.
you can very quickly find out somebody who's going to act more as a mentor towards your
Mm-hmm.
life, as
Right.
opposed to somebody who's going to take your money for an hour.
Yeah. Yep. There's a
And
lot of them out there.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunately the thing that creates a bad reputation for a lot of industries, much like
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Yes.
The people who are really groundbreaking and making a big influence and a big difference kind of
Mm-hmm.
get washed out by so much of the ones who are just doing it to make a quick buck.
Right. Yep. And like I say, the thing is, I know in my field, I don't know so much about. I do know that there are a lot of really good programs out there that people go through for massage therapy, but there's a lot of them that are just like, you pay your money, you
Yeah.
read, it's an open book test, and you go through the motions and you wind up getting certified.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sure in the osteopathic therapy that's not the case, but I know in my profession, I mean, anybody can go online, pay the money, and nobody's there to watch you to make sure you're not cheating on the test. So you can just go out there and get a certification, and the next thing you know, you're claiming that you're a professional and you can help people. And by
Correct.
the same token, we deal with it. We deal with it in the Dad Bod Transformation Group all the time. We get these guys that have lost, 80, 90 pounds, and they were taking different medications, and they're on steroids, and they're all jacked. And they're jumping in there and saying, well, this is what I did, and I lost 85 pounds, and I can help you do the same thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they're claiming to be coaches, and they don't give two shits about you. All they're worried about is the money in their pocket, and keep getting the attention so they can draw more people in to make more money.
Yep. And that's the sad thing of when an ego takes over instead of the integrity and the ethics of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
For example, for like massage therapy up in Canada, it's 2 years of training, so it's 2,200 hours of school.
Wow.
Okay. And osteo for myself, I did 5 years of full-time training plus another 3 years to do a research paper. Okay. Now, there's also programs out there where you could take, an online course for massage therapy, an online course for osteopathy, and be done in a few months.
Okay.
So I don't know how you would teach a hands-on course over the internet using Skype or Zoom.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
They do, right?
I can't imagine. Let's be like, okay, well, we're gonna send you this CPR dummy in the mail, and then you're gonna have to learn how to do all this stuff. And now I could see it if they had like these full-blown technological wonders where they would send you this entire dummy person, and it had all these sensors in it, and they could tell if you were doing procedures right or wrong. That would make sense, but they don't have
Yeah.
that type of technology yet. So,
No, no,
other than that, just getting online and doing it, yeah,
you got to do it the
not a good thing.
old-fashioned way,
Yeah,
and that's the thing,
indeed,
right?
indeed.
See, actually, down the states, there's a big functional difference from osteopathic medicine because down where you guys are, down in the United States, all osteopaths are physicians.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah, so it's
So
a very different protocol.
they require them to be MDs?
It is a medical school. So when you begin your training, you go right into med school. Up in Canada, however, we're not physicians. We're only manual therapists. So it's a
Okay.
different route entirely.
Huh.
So there's going to be a little confusion when people start looking at osteopathy, which I'm sure you saw. There's all these people in white coats because that's what they are. They're doctors, right?
Right, 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 right. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up because I'm sure there's going to be people that see this that have never heard of osteopathic,
Yeah,
you know, in any kind of therapy like that, and they're going to be Googling it, and this way they'll
yeah,
know that it's different depending on the region that you're in. But either way,
yeah, yeah,
any time that you have to spend that amount of time learning your craft, to me, whether you're a doctor or not, I've known plenty of doctors in my life that were
yeah,
well uh, quacks for less of a nicer term to call them. So
yeah.
I mean, it's like the first doctor that I went to see when I found out I was diabetic. I went to see him 2 days after a diabetic coma, and I go in there. I'd never been to this doctor before, and he looks over my papers that I filled out, and he says, "Oh, so you're 405 pounds, huh? Yeah. Um, just had a diabetic coma. Your blood sugar was over 500. Yeah."
Ooh.
And he's like, um, okay, so you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day? Yeah. He says, you won't make it to 55. And he walked out of the room.
Whoa!
That's what he
Holy.
said to me. Very first time seeing this doctor, and this all happened in the first 5 minutes. So I'm like, well, screw this guy. He's just telling. I know I got all these problems. He didn't have to tell
Yeah.
me that. I
Give
need
me
to
a
know what I need.
solution
Yeah,
here.
I need to know what I need to do, steps I need to take to fix them. So fortunately, I found an endocrinologist, and he got me started on some medicine. And then I got on the internet and I started learning everything that I could learn. And
Right, right.
that of course led to me getting into the situation where years down the road, and I'd finally gotten to the point where I was off diabetic medicine. I was like, okay, I did this for myself. Now I want to help others.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's it. Okay, so now you had said when we were talking earlier that you had a nerve injury that caused you some issues too as an adult.
Yeah.
What was the situations around that? And that also that from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that incident is what caused you to take a serious look at your health and make some major changes.
Yeah. Well, up until that point in time, I'd always been physically active. We go to the gym, we do the weight training, we're doing the cardio, I was doing the yoga, all
Okay.
of that sort of thing. And that, but I still always remember looking at my journals and always having back pain, always having back pain,
Right.
lifting strong, doing the rehab work, all that sort of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
one nice summer day, I had just gotten really good handle on scar tissue, getting things freed up, getting a lot of help, just making some big
Okay.
functional changes. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting cross-legged with my girls, and I turn to stand up. And the worst pain that I'd ever had in my life shot into my low back, my hip,
Ooh.
my leg, all the way down to the feet. Okay.
Wow.
7 months. Seven
Mm.
months it stuck there. It was a throbbing, constant pain 24 hours a day, every day, all the
Mm.
time. To the point my leg would actually, all my quadriceps wasted away on the left side. So
No
I lost all
kidding.
my muscle. It was all gone. Even still, my toes will go numb regularly and things like that. And you know, that's when I started going, wait a minute, something is wrong here. I'm in my late
Mm-hmm.
30s.
Right.
This isn't how it's supposed to be. I'm working
Right.
out, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing stretching, I'm doing all these right things. But what
Mm-hmm.
is functionally going on? And one of the
Okay.
big things that I decided and kind of figured out eventually was it was the scar tissue had grabbed onto the nerve root and pinched off the
Mm-hmm.
nerve supply. Okay.
Right.
So that
Right.
was the big thing. And that made me really start evaluating how my posture was.
Mm-hmm.
As I started looking at it a little bit more, that was about the same time that I was doing my research paper on posture.
Okay.
And as I started really digging down to it, I didn't know where I was going to go with this whatsoever. Okay, I had no idea. And then shortly after that injury, it kind of woke me up. I was like, holy crap, it's not just about the simple overall posture. Let's look at how it is for functional longevity, preventing
Right.
spinal breakdown. So I started looking at things a lot different and started training a lot different. So instead of the heavy weights all the time and going just heavy all the time, low repetitions all the time, and pounding, constant pounding, it was more along the lines of, okay, let's start looking a little bit more at some body weight stuff. Let's look at some super slow stuff. Let's let's look at some different, I guess for lack of a better word, functional lifting. Okay,
right,
and also cut down the amount that I'm doing. So instead of going for, like that hour and getting that real good burn on and getting all swole, right? Let's start looking at, the minimum effective dose. How can we do enough that's going to elicit a change, but not cause too much damage to the tissue?
Okay.
And eventually I found a really good functional way to do it. Finished my thesis, had fantastic results, and started implementing a lot of the stuff that we learned from that research into the training methods and into my education as well. So continuing further education.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now you said that you made some pretty radical changes when it came to your training, and you mentioned some old school techniques. So can you kind of elaborate that on that a little bit and let me know what it is that you mean by that?
Yeah, some of the stuff as I was really digging into how this stuff works is static stretching is wonderful. I like static stretching. It feels good, but a lot of times it's done very uneducated by a lot of clients, by a lot of people. Okay. They do it because it feels good. They don't stretch the areas that need the work. They stretch the areas that feel good. Right. They don't hold it long enough. They're doing it wrong. They're doing it improper. So that's when I started really looking at going back to, the old Charles Atlas stuff of isometrics. Right.
Yes.
And all the research out there, not all the research, but most of the stuff that's written out there for publication, like in books and everything, is like, it doesn't really do anything. It's the least effective and least beneficial form of training and everything. But then you look back at the old days with those heavy bodybuilders, what are they doing? They're posing, posing hard, creating that mind-body connection, reawakening that awareness, that proprioception, and building that confidence again. So that was one of the big things I started putting into the system, because it's old school, and it's old school for a reason. It's because it worked back then and should be working right now. And now you start seeing a lot more of like isometrics being used for helping with mobility and helping with preventing muscle wasting. There's so many functional uses. And the other old school technique that I've been using a lot is the vacuum breathing. And a lot of people kind of looked at it as like, it really doesn't do anything. It's not really beneficial. But if you think about what happens to our organs throughout our time, is they're under gravity.
Right.
So they eventually start sagging down just a little bit. So you start doing some vacuum breathing, and it can help
everything back up,
lift everything up again. And that's what I used a lot to help free up some of the fascial adherences in my gut system.
Yeah.
There were so many adherences that were stuck down there, and started doing some various stretching exercises while doing vacuum poses. And it burns, you can just feel it pulling away. Right. And so useful, so beneficial, and you're not going to hurt yourself. They're very safe to do.
Yep, exactly. And most people don't realize that actually doing the vacuum posing will help to move around. I mean, everybody knows that one of the hardest places to lose body fat is in the stomach, is in the abdomen area. And that visceral fat, we need some visceral fat in there to cushion our organs. But if you have excess visceral fat, that is the body fat that will, raises your markers for heart disease and diabetes and things like that. And by doing the vacuum posing and moving your organs around in that fashion, you actually help to break up some of that visceral fat that's in there. So if you're at a point, metabolically through diet and exercise, that you're actually burning some of that visceral fat, moving it around like that helps to mobilize it and makes it easier to burn up. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize too.
That's a good point. Very good point.
Yep. So and then as far as the stretching goes too, it's like most people don't realize, and I'm actually going through this right now. Now, mind you, I told you that back in the '80s I had surgery on my knee the first time, and back then when they had to, anytime they had to reattach tendons or ligaments, they would set your knee to where you couldn't move it past 30 degrees. That was as far as you
Right.
could extend it. So for 20 plus years, I've been walking around with a leg that was bent like that. Well, more than 20, probably
Yeah.
almost 40
A
years.
functional short leg. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I always walked with a limp. I wound up having to go to a chiropractor to get adjust because my hip would get out of line
Yep.
because I walked with the limp. But now I'm fighting against the muscle spindles and the Golgi tendon organs at the attachment points because they're so used to that being the stopping point. And
Yep.
now that I actually can go full flexion, they still don't want to do it. So
Yep.
I'm actually having to. I do hot stretches in the sauna when I go to the gym. I actually go to the sauna and sit with my leg sideways on the bench and actually just kind of lean down on my knee to help
Yeah.
push it down. Periodically in my office, I'll prop my leg up and I'll have it propped up at the heel so the weight of my leg is pulling down on the joint. Anything
Right.
to stretch that out so all those proprioceptors in there start to realize that, hey, we can go this far.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So stretching is like, it's like crazy important. And it's funny because in the Dad Bod Transformation group, Matt Griffiths, one of the other resident coaches, just posted a real nice PDF all about stretching, the different types of stretching, static stretching and dynamic stretching, and when you should
Nice.
do each. So, and
Yeah.
that's one of
Yeah.
the things I love about the Dad Bod group and the environment that we have there. It's just, the coaches all are very knowledgeable and they care, so they put the information out there. And then I run across people like you that I can have these conversations with and learn even more stuff because I'm like a sponge. I want to learn as much as I can learn because the more I know, the more I can help myself and the more I can help other people.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yep. Okay, so my final question would be one that I ask all of my guests when they come on the podcast. If you could change one thing about health and fitness on a global level, what would it be?
One of the big things that I'm actually starting to see some small changes overall with how things are progressing is the concept that weight bearing exercise is walking. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really isn't. It's not functionally going to be as useful as many other choices for reducing sarcopenia or
Okay.
for altering bone density.
Mm-hmm.
All those studies are basically done on some pretty intense cases where you're having some pretty stimulatory impacts on the bone structure. The same
Right.
thing with the muscles. So for a lot of cases, as we start getting older, we do need to be doing those things that we can't do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things that you do, or not you yourself, I guess maybe with that knee, I don't know, right?
It's
As we
interesting.
start
Yeah.
getting older, we
Right.
start going, one, I can't walk stairs anymore, so I'm going to get rid of my house with stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually we can't climb stairs and we start losing our strength and we start becoming weaker. We start losing that ability to do these
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So people like you, older personal trainers, are such a huge benefit towards the older population because they don't want to go work out with some 19-year-old guy per se. They want to have
Right.
somebody who's kind of been in the trenches, understands what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so functionally important that these people are moving away from just walking and very simple band work and
Mm-hmm.
getting some of the weight bearing exercises with weights and stimulation, or even some of the Olympic lifting or power lifting or box
Yep.
jumps or something that's going to cause a massive stimulation towards the tissue. As
Right.
scary as it is for some of these people who have mobility problems, it's also going to keep them younger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can honestly attest to the fact that the knowledge that I have and the things that I've been through leading up to my surgery, I was in the gym. I was in the gym and I was training this leg. I was strengthening the leg and getting it prepared for the surgery. And because of it, I'm 100% convinced that it attests to the fact that I'm like almost a month ahead of schedule on my rehab.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
know people that are only 8 years older than me
Yeah.
that have had knees replaced, and 2 months after the surgery, they were still walking around on a walker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like going to the gym and walking on the treadmill and doing my normal stuff outside of
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything heavy with my legs,
Yeah.
And it is, most people don't realize, and I tell people all the time, people need to realize that you need to put in the work. If you, no matter what it is that you want to do, if you want to lose weight, you've got to put in the work. And that means you've got to put in the work in figuring out what your diet needs to be. And you need to put in the work when it comes to exercise. Older people need to realize, get up, do some work. Now, granted, if all you can do to start is get up and go for a walk, then get up and go for a walk. Don't sit there and tell yourself, well, I can't go to the gym because I can't do any, I don't feel like I can do any body weight exercises, and the only thing I can do is walk. Let me tell you something. There's a member in the Dad Bod Transformation group. I don't remember his name. He's off the top of my head. He's a Latin guy. He's got to be pushing 500 pounds easy. And like at least once or twice a week, I see him posting videos of himself at the gym, and he's walking on a treadmill with an oxygen tank beside the treadmill now.
Yeah.
Oxygen tank beside the treadmill. And he's out there busting it on that treadmill because he knows he has gotten it. It's finally sunk in to him that you have to, every journey starts with a step. Get up and do something. So, good on you for that being what you would like to change, because I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I plan on being like the oldest dude that you've ever seen in a gym lifting weights. I'll probably die under a bench press, and I'll be completely fine with that.
That's perfect. A friend of mine is 82 years old. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And he got into changed his lifestyle as he got older, and he started doing lifting and everything. And he told me once when he was in his late 70s, he slipped and fell down a full flight of stairs. Okay. Just tumbled right down.
Right.
Got up. He had a cut on his leg.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have broken my hip.
Yeah.
Right. Like he got up and he brushed himself off, put a bandage on, and away he was going, and he was leg pressing the next day at the gym. It was unreal. Just absolutely unreal. That's and then conversely, I had a 55-year-old lady. She was all worried about working out. I thought that maybe yoga would be too hard for her.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, you got to challenge yourself. Every day's got to be very intentional, and it's got to be very mindful that it's not easy. It's got to be a little bit stimulatory every single day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like when I first started going to the gym was 2013. And granted, I've picked up some weight since the whole thing happened with my knee, but going into last year, I was 249 pounds and 15% body fat. When I started lifting weights back in 2013, I was at 31% body fat and weighed 315 pounds, something like that. So when you sit back and you do the numbers, I lost almost 20% body fat. Yeah. And by the time you figure the weight out, I put on almost 30 pounds of muscle.
Wow,
and
that's impressive.
From 2013, you're talking, let's see, I'll be 53 this year, and it's 2020. So do the math. I was in my mid 40s, and to put on that kind of muscle without any kind of steroids or just whole food and hard work, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
For sure.
It's just that simple.
Well, just that simple. Man, I know people who would fight a shark to gain that kind of muscle mass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I know guys that are in their 30s that can't do it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And it's just, and is some of it genetics? Yeah, I'm a big guy. I'm an endomorph, so it's easy for me to pick up size. But still, at my age, as you get older, you do fight an uphill battle. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, I'll be 53 next week, and I'm not stopping. So.
But that's going to add like 10, 15 years of active living onto the very end of where you should be.
Sure. Sure.
So you'd be that 80-year-old guy who's wrestling bears, right?
Yeah. Well, the way I figure it, the way technology's going and my mindset and my drive in the gym, I'll be like 110 years old and I'll still be training in the gym and stuff
Yep.
like that, because I'm sure between science and my own drive, it'll happen for sure.
Yep. Yep. It's
Okay.
happening every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Absolutely. All right, bud. Well, JaOn, I sure do appreciate you coming on the show. It has been extremely informative. You've got my curiosity piqued. I'm definitely going to do a little more studying into the osteopathic. What is it? Osteopathic? Say it again. Osteopathic what?
Osteopathic Manual Therapy.
Manual therapy. Okay. So now you say manual. Is there like automated therapy too, or are there like machines that can do that type of stuff? Or
You can't. Everything requires such a good hands-on touch to feel. It's similar to a lot of like joint adjustments. It requires finding where the joint wants to go and where it can go, and not going too far.
Gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to clear that up. But
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
I do want to thank you for coming on the show, and maybe we can get together and do it again sometime.
I'd love that. That'd be great.